Miss America way.
Put your mics on. Mics on.
I'd like to call to order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District. And can we get roll call?
Clayton Koo.
Here.
Marie Brizuela.
Here.
Maybell Monio.
Here.
Manufo Leah Inga Anawai is absent. Shaquille Ali.
Here. And Mr. Vidalis, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
And board members will take a moment to review the governance team meeting guidelines.
We're going to change them pretty soon, won't we?
Good. Thumbs up. All right. Also, we will be closing the meeting later on in honor of Lori Rosie Kotoff, Anthony L. Aui Matagi, and Rosalie Yerby. So if there's any other names, you can take additions now. Okay, if not. Before we approve the agenda, we need to, there's been a request to table item 9L.
I make a motion to table agenda item 9L
And approve the rest of the agenda?
and approve the rest of the agenda, yes.
Second.
Oh, you thought you were going to go home, huh?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Item 6A, board member acknowledgements and commendations. And we'll begin with board member Koo.
I just want to welcome everybody back to the school year and happy 2020 as well. I also wanted to commend a couple events that I attended since our last board meeting. So last December 20th, I attended Fernando Rivera's Career Day. So I went back to my old middle school to talk about what I do for my full-time job. There were a lot of great questions, and so just want to just say it was a great time being back at Fernando. Also, I attended on January 11th, I attended the SMCSBA Legislative Forum. All five state legislators from San Mateo County came by to talk to board members about education issues as well as ways that we can increase education funding, as well as help deal with STIRS and PERS, LCFF, and a wide variety of stuff. So just want to thank them for coming out for the event. Also, I attended Fernando's winter concert last week. Ms. Forte and the students at Fernando did a great job on their performance. And lastly, I attended this past Monday the MLK Day of Service at JFK. I helped paint some blacktops. And I just want to thank the staff from Kaiser Permanente as well as the Hands-on Bay Area for putting together a great day of service at the school.
Okay. I don't have much to report, having illness in the family, so I was pretty well stuck to the house. So I'm here tonight.
All right. Ms. Manio.
Yes, I also want to welcome everybody back after the holidays and Happy New Year to everyone. I excited for the rest of 2020 for all of us. I also attended the first term for trustees workshop at the Santa Clara County of Education office, and it was very informative and beneficial for me to attend, and I'm really glad that I did. So, and I also want to commend the Kaiser organization and their staff for coming out to JFK and helping with the day of service there.
All right, thanks. Superintendent, comments?
Yeah, just a couple. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in the TRP gym, we'll be holding what's now becoming an annual event, the Countdown to Kindergarten, providing information to families interested in enrolling students in kindergarten, and an opportunity for them to walk around and speak to staff from all of our schools that have a kindergarten program. In addition to that, I attended a couple of governor's budget workshops. Ms. Kessler is not here today, so she's not able to provide the board with an overview. This afternoon, for the first time in a long time, the County Office of Education hosted a budget workshop, which was very informative. Mr. Hagan was there. Several of our staff members were there. Two takeaways for me is that we have a budget for education that is fairly flat funded. It has a 2.29% COLA, but yet it takes about 3% to move from one year to the next. Given that means several districts, some of the larger districts in the state, are on the verge of bankruptcy. So likely there will be some relief, either increasing the COLA or doing something else. And so hopefully, given that most of the legislators hail from Los Angeles County, that being one of the districts that's in trouble. And that hopefully that relief will impact all of us and give all of us relief as well. And the other thing is that Governor proposed to do some increase in funding for special education, which indirectly supports the general fund, since the general fund contributes significantly to the special education program. So anything that's given to special education supports all the other programs as well. So those are the two takeaways from me. And when Ms. Kessler gets back and well, she'll present a more thorough update.
All right, thanks. Item 6C, persons wishing to address the board. Excuse me. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. We have no speaker cards. So item 7A, consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I was gonna say that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, just a moment. So I'm looking at this agenda now. Is that a little itty bitty little tiny asterisk? It's kind of hard to see on all the items here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I almost thought it was dust, and I was trying to get it off, but okay. So we're not to talk about any of these items then? Unless we,
Unless
I
there's
had some questions on some of these, so that's why
there's an item you want to
Yeah.
pull off?
yeah, so let's take off 9. We're not taking everything off on 9, right? Take this,
Pardon?
just 9L only, you said, right? Okay, so 9C, 9D, and the I, same number. And I guess forget L since Mrs. Kessler's not here. I don't mind it. That, we already took off. Okay. So can they come off the consent agenda?
So I'll make a motion, I'll update my motion to approve the consent agenda, removing 9C, 9D, and 9I from the consent agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 7E, 2020 to 2021 school calendar. The administration recommends adoption of the 2020 to 2021 school calendar as presented. This calendar has been determined as part of the district calendar committee process and is in alignment with the Jefferson Union High School District calendar. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, to adopt the 2020-2021 school calendar as presented.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 7F, excuse me, selecting date for study session on ethnic studies. Board members will consider and select a date for a study session on ethnic studies. Available dates are February 6th, 13th, or 27th, or the first session and May 7th or 28th for the second session. Okay, it was for this first session.
Yeah, so the board had requested an opportunity to have study sessions on ethnic studies, and I've been able to schedule some potential dates if the board could select from them. There would be 2 sessions, an early one and then a later one. And those would be special meetings, not regular meetings.
And these are all Thursdays?
No.
Looks like all Thursdays and one
6 is-
Saturday.
Oh, you're right, 6 is Thursday. What times would these be at?
They would be, I think, in the past, we've kept our meetings to start at 7.
Obviously, in the evening.
Yes, 7 p.m., so that folks can get back here from work.
So is this, are we just having that for us, or are there people coming?
Yes, we've invited our partners in this to come and help lead the conversation and help the board ask questions and be able to answer questions. This is our colleagues from College of Ethnic Studies at San Francisco State
Okay,
and Community Empowerment Incorporated.
great, okay.
Are members of the public invited?
It's a public meeting, yes. But the conversation is for the board, but the board is the one that's learning about this.
Because it's a study session.
So for me, I guess all the dates work for me except February 6th.
I think the 27th would be better for me.
27,
27 and 28, best for me as well.
May 28th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, May 28th is good, too. All right.
As
So
I
it
realize,
sounds like
Ms. Liagi, I know why he's not here, so I guess we're going to check with
Oh,
her
that's right.
after.
Well, we can double check with her, but if that's the only dates that work for the rest of the board,
So
we can let her
February-
know when we see her next, see her on Saturday. If there is an absolute conflict, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board and get more dates.
Well, I know that I'm booked on the 6th and 13th positively.
Okay.
So to clarify, right now is February 27th and May 28th. Those are the 2 dates. Okay.
'Cause if it's a study session, it's a meeting, we have to have at least 3 people.
That's correct. And right now we have 4.
Present. So if we have 4 that say yes, and one of you can be sick. No. I mean, it won't be as bad as saying,
Only
if there's
one.
only 3 of us, forget it.
So we would need a motion to set those dates for a special meeting.
I'll make a motion to set our ethnic studies study session dates for February 27 and May 28th.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 7G, fiscal year 2018-19 annual financial audit report for the year ended June 30th, 2019. Ahmad Garabe, audit partner with Ed Bailey, will be in attendance or is in attendance to summarize the results of the audit.
Great.
The administration recommends acceptance and approval of the financial statement for the 2018-19 fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019, as submitted by the auditing firm. And good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. These are the financial statements for Jefferson Elementary School District. We are the independent auditors for the school district. The scope of the audit, again, is ensuring that the financial statements are fairly stable. It is effectively an affirmation of the financial information that is presented to you by management, the unaudited actuals, that is. The process of the audit is that it's an ongoing process that begins at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year is when we begin testing the school sites, and we test your attendance and the student bodies. And then there's an interim phase, is what we refer to, in which we look at the internal controls, the processes that you have within the district, the manner that you process receipts, disbursements, contracting, payroll, HR-related functions. And then we come back at final after the district closes the books and they present to you the unaudited actuals. We go in and we confirm these balances. We look at the calculation of the LCFF. We confirm your cash balances, your debt, capital assets, various account balances that are presented on the financial statements. You are a local government that is receiving federal funding and various types of state funding. So we also, the feds and the state ask you to ask us to audit certain compliance requirements with federal requirements and state requirements. And we issue opinion on compliance with federal requirements and the state compliance requirements. So I'm pleased to let you know that we actually completed the audit, and we had no exceptions to report to you with respect to the internal controls. So we had no adjustments to the financial statements. Bernie and his group, including Julie and Abe, the director there, has been very cooperative in helping us confirm these balances. And we go to third parties, and that's how we confirm these balances there. And so they assisted us in connecting with them and answering our questions, so we encountered no difficulties and we had no adjustments to the financial statements.
Wow.
I'm not sure if we have two agenda items in there or just one. So there's the bond reports as well. It's all in one. This is a little different. Yeah, somehow it's a component of the district audit. Voters go out and they vote on paying the Measure U and Measure I believe. It's called Proposition 39. It requires you to undergo an audit in which you ensure that the funds for these two measures are segregated from the district funds, and the fact that the expenditures for those funds are in compliance with what the voters had voted on. And so we confirm again your bond proceeds and your cash with respect to those two measures, and we roll them forward. We make sure the district is rolling them forward. And then we test the expenses. We typically test about 70 to 80% of the expenses just because of the nature of the expenses. It's large amounts, obviously it's construction. And again, we issue two types of reports in there. One is, financial, which is making sure that you segregate the proceeds, and then the other one is compliance. And again, we issued a clean opinion on both of them. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
All right, thanks for your report. Outstanding report. I'm not sure if this is the first time where there's absolutely no adjustments.
Yeah,
So,
we'll say that.
It's a second or third time.
Oh, second or
Yeah.
okay.
All right. our student body accounts were okay, we're clean.
Yes.
That's what you said. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a question because it's kind of like overall big stuff. I'm looking at little stuff. Do you also view the, what's it called? Remember I was asking the questions about it the last time. When you start off, like say petty cash in different schools, and do they also do that? Do they check that out to see how it's being spent and how it's being reimbursed and why it increases or decreases?
On a sample basis, yes. So when we go out to the sites, we inquire about, they typically have bank accounts with respect to the student bodies, and then in some instances, they may have accounts related to petty cash, library collections and that kind of stuff. In some instances, they're transmitted to the district. In some instances, they may have, those petty cash line items. It's a, I don't know, $100 million budget over here at the district, and we as auditors, we don't test everything out there. I mean, the scope of the audit is in all material respects. So I'm not exactly sure if we did or did not at those particular sites. If we did not note any exceptions with respect to petty cash.
Wow,
Thank you.
okay.
Well, the good news is, as the board, we are supposed to look at the big picture and leave the small picture to the people that are paid to do that. So I just want to put that out there. Are there any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial statement for the 2018-2019 fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019, as submitted by the auditing firm.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Item 9C, surplus equipment. Thomas Edison School. The administration recommends the board declare the equipment from Thomas Edison School having a total value of less than $2,500 as surplus and authorize disposal of the said equipment. And you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what type of things were coming under that. What,
So there is a backup on that describes the item.
Uh-huh.
You have that there? Did you have a question about it?
no, I just wanted to know, as surplus, well, number one, if it's $2,500,
It's under that, yeah.
are we replacing those items?
The one that is listed there is a copy machine, and it's an end-of-life copy machine. It's at the end of its lifespan.
It's at the end of life?
It is. It's at the end of its lifespan. They last anywhere between 5 to 8 years, depending on how heavily they're used. And the school will be replacing that because they need it to operate.
All right. Any more questions about that?
No.
I actually do. Who handles the purchasing for that?
It's a combination between the school and the business office.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item C, surplus equipment for Thomas Edison School.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item D, 9D.
Okay, I asked that to come off. I just wanted to know, what's the reason for the increase? Was it just a cost factor, or was it that we're servicing more people?
I think this item describes there was a desire to increase services and programs at the school site, and so they needed to add more to that contract to accomplish that.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
You want me to make the motion? I'll make a motion to approve the addendum to contractual services agreement between Daly City Partnership and J.F. Kennedy School.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Nice. Item 9I, Woodrow Wilson Elementary School fencing construction documents revised. You had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to know about the fencing. I think I talked to Bernie about it once. That, I want to be sure that we're not fencing off the property so that, the children and their families, or even members of the public, don't have access to being able to use the facility. At least up to an hour of 7 or 8 o'clock, where at that time they should be home with their families eating dinner. So I just want to know about that.
So this is about the design of the fencing. And so, as with any construction project at school sites, they need design documents prepared and need to be approved by the Department of School Architects. And so that's what this is about. The fencing has not been designed yet. So this is to prepare the documents to design them.
Okay, so we'll have an opportunity to know how high the fence will be, or how close to the property line it's going to be, because that's what I'm concerned about. I know that we might want fencing around our schools to protect someone from breaking into it, but at the same time, we want to be sure that we're not having, and I'm having parents talk to me about this. They're calling me and saying what's going on with the fencing.
Yeah, so this is, as I mentioned, this is for the design of the fencing.
But I want to get it out
So
now so that.
I think you're asking for how we implement closing and opening the gates, and that is a different conversation. But
No,
this is,
my conversation is putting the fence too far out, say to the property line, which would mean that people cannot use the facility when school is closed, but yet the children may want to go back with their parents to play in part of the property. So if you want to put fences, I want to talk about it before you come back and say, well, we already got an architect that's building a fence. I don't want to see the fences so far away that they can't use the property for recreation.
So just before we get too far into that, how did we get to the point of we're putting a fence there in the first place?
well, all of our school sites are getting refenced. As you know, if you drive around our schools, many of them are falling apart and falling down. The bond measure was passed to help us secure our school sites. And Woodrow Wilson, it would be just likely a replacement of most of their fencing.
Oh, yeah, but
Yeah. This is just for Woodrow Wilson, yes.
So this wouldn't be to make the fences any smaller or bigger, it's just repairing the same fences, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So they're not changing anything.
well, I'm not talking about just Woodrow Wilson, I'm talking about.
That's what this
the fen-
item is about, Woodrow
I
Wilson.
understand that, but I know that the others are coming.
So does that
So
mean
allow me to speak on a subject that is.
Are you asking to put this on a future agenda as an agenda item? I mean, for a future
Well,
board meeting?
at the last meeting, I asked to put 3 items on the agenda, and they're not on it tonight, so.
Okay, so, but you're asking to put this as a future agenda item?
Well, right now, because the item is here, what I'm saying is I don't want to see fences that will keep
Okay.
people out. Woodrow Wilson is an exception to the rule because they don't even have a huge playground. So I'm not talking about
So
that.
for the purposes of moving on with this item,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine, but it's my opportunity before I get the
Okay.
next one done, before we get to
so
talk about
that's
it.
duly noted, and
Good grief.
Mr. Vidales, could you, actually, I have agenda meetings with Mr. Vidales, and we can look at the calendar and determine a time to put this on a future board meeting
Okay,
as an agenda item.
and if you'll see in the minutes of our meeting, of our last meeting, I had asked that something be placed on the agenda. And it's not, even though I see we have a thick
Yeah.
agenda thing here, so I'll go through you.
Okay,
If you would
thank
do
you.
me the favor of making sure that an item is placed on the agenda when we ask.
Okay,
for
so
it.
just for clarification to the public, any board member is allowed to ask for agenda item to be placed on a future board meeting, and then the board meetings agendas are determined by the superintendent and the board president or whoever else meets with the superintendent to create those agendas. But we do have a yearly schedule and calendar that has important items at each of those dates throughout the year. And it's not guaranteed that an item that we request is going to be put on the next board meeting. But we'll do our best to accommodate any board member. We're all equals here. So do we have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Weston Miles Architects to prepare documents based on approved schematic designs for site security at Woodrow Wilson Elementary School from design development through project closeout for an amount not to exceed $31,200 plus 10% contingency to cover unforeseen conditions to be approved by the district.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And item 9K, resolution number 20-01-22, resolution for temporary interfund transfer, which is a loan, at year end. The administration recommends approval of resolution number 20-01-22, resolution for temporary interfund transfer at year end.
Did we not vote on that already?
I don't know why I have a circle around it.
Oh, you did? Did somebody else ask for it to
Might
come
need
off?
clarification from.
This is not a consent item. This is a resolution to be voted on.
Do we need more information or?
Oh, excuse me, I see what he's saying. It should have just been numbered another number. Okay. I can understand why you thought that. It looked like all of these were together, that's why. Okay. I didn't even notice that.
So do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 20-01-22. I won't read the whole thing.
Right.
Second?
If we have a roll call,
Mr. Koo,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio,
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
aye. Unanimous. Item 10C, Education Specialist CLAD and CBEST waiver. Education Specialist Moderate Program coursework, CBEST exam, and CLAD waiver is required for Audrey Ann Bobis Bayogos, Education Specialist, SDC teacher, JFK for the 2019-2020 school year, in order to pass CBEST CLAD exam or CTEL coursework and additional Education Specialist program coursework to obtain her Education Specialist Level 1 credential. The administration recommends approval of this waiver request. Sure, thank you.
Yes, hi. So as we've done in the past, in particular areas of need, special education, math, science, we have some folks that have not completed all the required documentation, in this case, passing the CBAS, CLAD, or CTEL. And so the state will allow us to apply for a year-long waiver to allow the person to stay in their assignment and work on essentially an emergency or a short-term staffing permit. So as we've done in the past, the administration is recommending that the board approve this waiver request.
Are there any questions? No. I do have one slight question. Is this one of our homegrown employees? or-
this is actually one of the world teachers.
All right. But so far, so good, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the education specialist CLAD and CBEST waivers as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
So that's gone, that's gone.
Way ahead of time.
Now we're down to 12.
Item 12A, Board Policies, Administrative Regulations, October 2019, CSBA Board Policy Revisions, first reading. The board will review and revise board policies, administrative regulations from October 2019 CSBA board policy revisions as stated in a first reading. Are there any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the October 2019 CSBA board policy revisions.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Reports, item 13, reports from board members on professional development. So the first one will be CSBA 2019 Annual Education Conference. Board members Clayton Koo and Shaquille Ali will highlight some of their learnings as well as give a report about their attendance at the California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference and Trade Show in San Diego from December 5th to December 7th, 2019.
First.
So I was going to kind of talk about delegate assembly, which I attended for the conference as well as the conference itself. So just in terms of some of the highlights for the delegate assembly, I thought it would be good to share. There was a introduction about a CSBA online learning center that CSBA is rolling out. Actually, right before this meeting, I saw that CSBA actually sent an email out to all board members about the platform. So this is actually a little outdated now because they actually have some new information. However, the idea is that it's supposed to be a portal where board members can go online and learn information. It's not necessarily a replacement of Masters in Governance, but it's supposed to be a supplement. So like sort of talk about the Brown Act, talking about funding, curriculum, sort of just kind of more information that board members would be handy to have just in case they can't go to a board, one of those CSBA trainings and such, but it's supposed to be a supplement to that information. So if I'm correct, it's now available online. It's actually, we can all access it. And I know there's a cost associated with it, but I think that's sort of being figured out on the CSBA end there. In terms of a couple things too, I know that CSBA had been focusing heavily on a push for a full and fair funding initiative for the 2020 November ballot, and the CSBA staff agreed to delay that until 2022. I think there was some polling as well as sort of some research on their end in terms of who, whether the initiative would pass in 2020. So they decided to push it off to 2022. So I think the more information about that is going to come up in the next couple years or so for that initiative. And then there was actually a summary of a breakout session back in May in Sacramento. We had a breakout session about special education in terms of ways that board members from across California had concerns about special education in their school districts, as well as ways that the CSBA staff sort of kind of summarized in terms of ways that we can sort of advocate for those kind of concerns. Some of the major themes from some of those breakout sessions was the cost of litigation and due process for special education, the lack of increases in state and federal funding for special ed programs, the need for more stringent laws and regulations throughout the state, as well as the need for more service providers and the cost for NPS and NPA placement services for special education programs. And in terms of some of the requests that was sort of pretty relevant across all board members who were delegates was the need for an advocating for a cap on litigation costs for special education, reforming the legal process through types of statewide legislation, advocating for increased funding, assisting with the implementation of multi-tiered system of support, and then additional professional development opportunities for board members to sort of gain additional learnings about special education. And actually, I would say similarly, I think that online portal is going to have something about special education as well too. So I think that's something that we can lean on to gain more knowledge for ourselves as well. And then additionally, CSBA sort of kind of laid out an action plan in terms of finding ways to sort of be more cognizant of some of the special education topics coming up, such as sort of increasing publications on special education topics for board members, as well as people in the education field to sort of be more informed and aware of what's going on in special ed. Creating a committee and task force to review sort of different districts and county office of educations across the state on best practices that they can sort of adopt and follow, increase training, advocating for more funding, as well as sort of kind of educating our state legislators on the challenges for special ed in ways that we can advocate for them in a local district as well as county and statewide effort. And then additionally, in terms of the delegate assembly, another thing that is on the ballot, on the 2020 ballot, is Prop 13. It's the Public Preschool, K-12, and College Health and Safety Bond Act. And pretty much it's a bond that will help increase funding for higher education, as well as K-12, through a mix of bond construction for new construction, modernization, water testing, CTE programs, as well as community colleges and higher education. So just want to flag that that's on the ballot, and the delegate assembly at the December meeting approved to endorse that. So CSBA is endorsing that at a statewide level. And then additionally, in terms of some of the workshops that I attended during the conference, I attended a couple with, I know several board members, was at the Youth Cinema Project. They highlighted the work that our school district was doing as part of the project. And I know that after that, a lot of school districts across Imperial County has reached out to ours, trying to learn more and see if they would potentially be able to sort of kind of learn from what we're doing and sort of kind of bring that into their school districts as well too. Also, I attended the Jefferson Union High School District's workforce housing discussion. Them, as well as the Mountain View Wisman School District and Landed, talked about their efforts on developing workforce housing for their school districts, as well as other opportunities for financing teachers and staff so that they would be able to afford housing across the state. So it was great to just hear about different school districts as well as ways that they were working on that. And then lastly, I attended a workshop about social emotional learning. It was talking about how social emotional learning isn't necessarily a process, it's a process and not necessarily an event or a curriculum. And it needs to connect with those who don't necessarily have the feeling of a need and sort of kind of reaching out to them so that they feel supported and helped out, even if they don't necessarily feel and act as if they do need help. And then so kind of mentioned different types of learning models. They talked about disproportionate data for those with social emotional support, differences in terms of racial bias and microaggressions, forming restorative circles to support them, forming trauma-enforced practices, as well as sort of kind of revising district and conduct codes with alternatives to suspensions and changing cultures as a way to support them along the way too. So yeah, so it was a great conference. I thought I learned a ton in terms of things that I could use for just being a better school member, as well as sort of, I think, a lot of the statewide initiatives that we're working on at the CSBA level to sort of help school districts like ours sort of gain a better footing on what's up to come in the future.
All right, thanks. So my report will be a lot more brief. I already discussed this with Mr. Vidales. But I just wanted to talk about the why, why we even go to CSBA. It's important for us to continue to be lifelong learners as board members, and this is our professional association. It's our chance to get, to congregate with other board members and talk about similar issues and talk about the solutions to those issues. But I brought back some of the research around the Youth Cinema Project, so I'll pass this to you, and then I can share.
Have you got the same ones?
Yeah. So I just want to read a little bit. We all can take turns too, reading different sections so you can hear different voices out there, right? So students and teachers believe that the Youth Cinema Project, number one, impacts the students' confidence. When speaking outside of YCP, which is Youth Cinema Project class, in other classes, social situations, and at home. Okay, you can go.
2, requires students to pay attention to details in writing and the impact words have on a reader's interpretation of their writing. Notably, students report that they believed experiences with their writing in YCP helped them in other academic areas such as language arts, social studies, and school testing, and improved their ability to write in a second language.
Thank you. Ms. Fitzwater?
So, 3 grows leaders, students who have not usually led before are suddenly taking charge, directing others, and helping their team be successful.
Students are not giving up. They are figuring things out and working outside their comfort zones.
And it helps students become more resilient by trying, putting in a committed effort, and learning to lead or working together to face and solve problems. So this is based on the research that SCALE, which is the Stanford Center for Assessment, Learning, and Equity, did on the Youth Cinema Project. And I was looking forward to getting this presentation. A lot of the districts there were. So it was after hearing those speakers from the researchers that a lot of districts were interested, and all the questions were, how can we get this started? So then they all, kind of came to us. So, I just want to read now just the research connections. So YCP creates positive environments, and the research connection was creating positive and caring environments to ensure all students learn. Then YCP promotes active and social learning. The research connection was inviting active participation of students to use skills and knowledge to create meaningful products. And in this case, the meaningful product are the films that they create. YCP provides in-depth instruction of vocabulary, practices across multiple modalities. Research Connection was providing focus and varied opportunities to develop academic and general vocabulary. And the last one is YCP cultivates social emotional learning competencies. And the connection to the research was teaching directly to develop students' social emotional learning skills in connection to content. So that was, I thought was the highlight of the conference for me was hearing those presentations, because we've seen the work up close when we went down to Southern California and visited the program, and then we got it here, but we didn't have any evidence or any proof that we could connect this to literacy or in any other area. So I want to also commend once again all of us, but Mr. Vidales for actually executing it and making this happen. And this is the first steps of us having a more coherent ethnic studies program as well. And then I went to the board president's workshop, was that 2 weeks ago, a week ago? I can't remember. So I'll just tell you what the agenda was. The agenda was getting acquainted, of course, board presidents and other board members, and I think there was one county superintendent and a couple superintendents. We all got together. We talked about citizen governance and just what the role of the school board president is, which is to facilitate and run the meetings. And we're equal, all of us as board members, we're all equal. The board president just has the job of conducting the meeting. Then we talked about fostering an exceptional governance team that is focused on the needs of the students and looking at, like I mentioned before, the big picture, the guidance, the oversight, and allowing the superintendent to execute. He's our executive officer. He's our only employee, and all the rest of the employees are under the superintendent. And then we talked a lot about establishing focus, having a focused sense of purpose as a board. That was all the first half of the day. And then the second half of the day was a blueprint for great meetings. We got a lot of, we did role play, actually, where we had, I think it was called the dysfunctional board. And so we acted out, I was in that role play. So each group, gave critiques on how to deal with challenging board members and scenarios. Then we finished the day talking about the superintendent evaluation, because the superintendent is our only employee, and we do that annual evaluation, we spent a lot of time talking about that. And there's lots of districts that are far behind us as far as having any type of process for evaluating the superintendent. So I think there's times that we're hard on ourselves here as a board, but we should be giving ourselves a pat on the back because we have a true process to get it done. The two takeaways I took from that, though, was that we should have, I think we already have a mid-year review and kind of check in on the progress that the superintendent has made towards his goals. But I would put out there that we might look into maybe having quarterly check-ins. So that gives us a chance to look at the goals and see if there's anything we need to adjust. Not change any goals, but just adjust them and make them more realistic. And then the other takeaway was that the document that we actually produce at the end of that process is a consensus document, and dissenting opinions do not have to be put in that document. So we need to really think about when we're in that process and we're all deciding how we want to evaluate him and present our thoughts about his progress towards the goals, that that document is the final word, and that is something that we all agree on. Uh-oh, did I say something?
No, he just exited the room. Uh-oh, help. I think maybe he misunderstood you. No.
So anyhow, I was pleased. I've been the president 3 times, and it's never enough learning. So to go to this meeting was good for me. I was surprised to see how many new people were there at the meeting. I was one of the veterans, and but it was still relevant and a good refresher. So, all right. Was that brief?
Oh, that was good.
Just anything about the trade show, though.
Who, me?
This is a trade show. I
The trade show?
want to know about a school board trade show. What's that?
What is
Oh,
it?
no. So the trade show is just part of the CSBA annual conference. So just like any other conference, if you've ever been to like Moscone, the trade show is happening simultaneously with the conference. And there's little break times where you can walk in there and see what they're trying to sell you,
Gavels and
No, it's actually, yeah.
Yeah.
We could talk about it offline.
No. What it is, they're sometimes introducing a program to us too, which is good. So it's good to go and see.
Sure.
And they always have a little thing of candy there, or a little raffle for a little, like, nothing, just to get you to go down there.
Yep. Sure. All right. Item 14, governance team member comments, reports, and board meeting reflection. And we'll start from board member Koo.
We will keep our focus on the best interests of our students.
Forgot about it. We will listen actively and communicate openly. Try to do that.
All right.
I also chose number 1, keeping our focus on the best interests of our students, and to piggyback a little bit on Trustee Ali's report from CSBA, I just wanted to give a little bit more detail to my first term workshop that was happening simultaneously as your president's workshop in the same building. I was able to interact with different new board members from all around the state. I think we were probably the biggest district in presence there. And I also want to commend our structure, this district's organization, and how well our wheelhouses work here. They're always spinning, they're always working for us. If I have a question and I call the district office, I reach a live person each and every single time. I can't say that for most districts that I have called lately. I usually reach an IVR and a voicemail. So I think that we really should pat ourselves on the back, all of us, because we do, at the end of the day, run this district like a machine, which is best for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And I focused on, we will keep our focus on the best interests of our students. Persons wishing to address the board on closed session items? No speaker cards? So we'll convene to closed session in memory of Lori Rose Kotoff, teacher at Thomas Edison Elementary School, and daughter of Denise Kotoff, retired school administrative assistant at Daniel Webster Elementary School. Anthony L. Aui Matagi, son of board member Manufo Liana Anoa'i, and Rosalie Yerby, retired art teacher.